Hi everyone, it's me again. Today's topic is divination. What is it? How to do it? All the basics. Interestingly enough, intuition is something we all have. The ability for mediumship is also something we all have, but the intuitive part is like this part of our body, the big aura, because I've said in other videos how we are much larger than the yolk of the hard-boiled egg. And we tend to not pay attention to stuff that doesn't seem tangible. But we all have intuition. Sometimes we just don't listen to it. What I want to do is give you some tips on how to strengthen it. But what's interesting about this is that you can tell what comes from intuition and what comes from mediumship, because the difference is the mediumship is more of, instead of getting information from all out here, it's kind of like a tube that goes through you. It's a channel. You're a channel. You're a medium for conduit, if you will, just for communication, where you pull information from above, if you will. So you're getting literal messages, not feelings necessarily. Okay? And sometimes it's a blurred line where they blend together. And this becomes a blurred line because divination is sort of like channeling. I mean, there can be communication with the other side, but it also enhances your intuition. So you can use your feelings as well. All right, and we'll get a little bit more into that. But think about, well, I'll give you a list of divinations and we'll be able to really decipher which ones do what and how to best use them. And in later videos, I'd like to actually just, hone in on one divination and really get a little deeper on that, because some divinations we're not attracted to as much as other divinations. So what is divination? What is this lady just talking about? Okay. A divination is a tool, any tool that you might use for psychic work or mediumship, because you can use this with either. So we're talking about divining rods. We're talking about crystals, things like that. So let's talk about how we can enhance those tools. I like these tools, not for a it's not my main thing, but I like using them as an enhancement for my messages. And they're great if you're in development, if you want to go this path as a medium or an intuitive, then divination is a great practice tool. And I would just say, go with what is attracted, you're attracted to, and just keep doing it. Practice, practice, practice. But in order to, anybody can throw out cards. Anybody can throw out cards. But in order for interpretation, you really need to feel those cards. One card can have 3 different meanings, for instance, depending on the circumstance. You have to choose the meaning of a particular card. And it's kind of like a string of cards is connecting the dots and telling a story. But it really helps if you're sort of raising in the vibrations a bit, if you're kind of dwelling up here and not, sort of mechanical. There's nothing mechanical about this, except throwing the cards themselves, but interpreting is a whole different story. So what I want to talk about is, I have a list of divinations here, but I want to talk first about, let me address some other things. Every video, sorry about that. I don't like to edit, so, I'm going to stutter a lot because I don't like to edit. Unless it's ridiculous. Then it's like, oh no, just cut all that crap out. What I want to talk about, like I've talked about in other videos, is tips to enhance your intuition. And I don't always, like, I don't have one particular video, it's several videos and little excerpts of different videos, because something always comes to me that I want to share, you know, and it's spontaneous. Or I write them down, you know, and the things that would help you. And these are some of them are just the way you live your life, not necessarily a particular exercise, you know. So let me find the page that I have for some ideas to exercise your psychic muscle again, okay? So, well, we talk about meditation. That's always going to be on the top of my list, people. Sorry. You know, I know that sounds like going to exercise, and I don't want to exercise, but you know what? You got to put in your dues a little bit. And meditating, though, you know, which will be another video in its own, because there's so many different ways to meditate. But if you're a beginner, I recommend a guided meditation you could find on YouTube, or, you know, on an app. Live meditations with groups are fabulous too. But you have to resonate with the voice. The thing I like about guided meditations is that you kind of take yourself away from the responsibility of the meditation, or you know, what you're going to think about. Let somebody else do that work. Just follow them. That's the easiest way to do it. And it lets you go and takes a lot of the pressure off. So, so what we know about meditation is raising your awareness, and it has all kinds of health benefits in mind, body, and spirit on so many levels. Number 2, practice whatever method de-stresses you. We can't keep life from happening, but we can control how we act or react to it. So stressing, de-stressing can be meditation, but it can be so many things. Let's not make it eating, because, you know, I've learned that we cannot actually do that. It doesn't last very long, unfortunately, and then I just find myself in the refrigerator again. So we have to learn to deal with stress on different levels, and whatever seems to balance you or center you, you know, do more of that. Whether it is soaking in the tub, or going out with friends to have a few laughs at the movies. You know, don't forget your needs. And there's so many of us that are so involved in other people's problems that we forget our own, as if we're not really worth self-care. So remember that cliche, that up-and-coming cliche, that self-care is not selfish. Okay, it's necessary. And you want to help people in this world, then you've got to take care of you first. That's the bottom line. All right. So de-stressing, there you go. And it helps you also make better decisions in your life, and it keeps you from, it allows you to flow also when you're doing this kind of work. So whether you want to do this work or not, it's still all good for you. I'm still giving you some good tips for life. Eat more of God's food and stay hydrated. I call it God food, but basically it's whole food. Less processed crap. You go to the grocery store, shop on the outer perimeters. Don't go in those middle aisles unless you have to. That's where all the crap is. But you'll notice all your dairy and your meat and your vegetables, they're all against the wall. And so that's God food. You know, and I would say protein's very important, but, you know, not eating meat or eating less meat is also a plus. So we know junk food makes us feel like a junkie, right? I mean, it just makes you want to take a nap. I guess that's what it does to me. So I limit it. But I'm very guilty of liking junk food. But you have to remember that your body is your instrument, you know, and that is, even though we work out in the aura with the intuition, you know, we can still enhance the egg yolk to be a better reception. We get better reception. So, yeah, I'm not going to edit all that crap out either. Okay, nurturing your spiritual side. So this is mind, body, and spirit. And I would say, like, learn a new path, or if you're on a particular path, go deeper into it. Learning Buddhism, for instance, a new pagan path, or any spiritual topics that pique your interest. Grab that great book you've been looking for off the shelf. Go to a bookstore and let something pick you. That's also very important. So enhancing your relationship with a higher source, any higher source, is also going to create further awakening. And you have to do what's right for you. I mean, there's lots of paths available, and as long as they are paths that don't hurt anyone else, do no harm, that's all I can say. But you have to do what resonates with you. And I can tell you right now that, people do judge, and I've been judged. And, there was an earlier time in my life when that was very important to me. Now I really don't give a shit. So, I'm not editing that out either. So, stretching your imagination. And I've said this before, imagination has a place in your life. That was a gift from God. And daydreaming is a free form of meditation. So letting your mind wander is fine, I mean, as long as it's not in the middle of a meeting or something, I'm sure that it won't be appreciated, but it can allow your ego to stop controlling every minute of every day. And it gives you the opportunity to do emotional checks with yourself and see how you really feel about things. It's almost like a philosophy, okay, that if you can just let go and let things flow, things become clearer, especially when we're confused about a decision or confused by someone else's life, or, and how it affects us. We all run into situations where we're just like, either mind blown, or we just can't wrap that head around some concept that's been introduced to us. So sometimes just let it go, stretch the imagination. And what I mean by that is that you could start thinking about something else. Whatever it is that, again, that centers you. You come back to the problem or whatever the issue is you're trying to wrap your head around, and a lot of things may become a lot clearer. So how do we do that? Okay, so maybe it would start with, like, picking a word. All right, open a book and just point to a word. So let's say it's a flower. And then I might, okay, that flower's in the field, and there's lots of other flowers. And I'll look at the colors, and there's a breeze, and I just put details around it. Maybe there are people walking through a meadow. Just think about that. And then you come back to reality, because the reality is still going to be there, right? And maybe you'll feel different about things. Protecting your energy field. Now, this is not necessarily about enhancing your awareness, but it kind of is, because negative energy and negative forces kind of suppress that whole aura thing, because now you're dealing with earth energies and you're not buoyant. Okay, so that's what raising the vibrations is to begin with. And so it's very important to raise your awareness, but raise the vibrations. If you've had a bad day, that when I do my work, I say a little prayer to my spirit guides. And you know what? I'll give you that prayer. It's a white light prayer, and I say it often. I can't swear that I say it every day. I can swear I don't say it every day. But white light prayer goes like this. I surround myself with the white light of truth, and nothing but that which is of the truth and for my own good shall approach me. For I am a child of God, and God will protect me. Amen. That is a powerful prayer. And you can say to your spirit guides, your angels, whoever just the air, the ethers, they hear you. They absolutely hear you. But the other thing is about the negative energy can come from yourself. And so if you're going to do any kind of divination, I would make sure that you're in a mindful space, a positive space. I would definitely protect yourself from yourself at times. It's just not, the results are not going to be all that great. You know, and sometimes results from divinations are less than great. There could be outcomes you didn't want. Certain divinations are mostly benign. It's the user that can create a problem, really. You know, and what I mean by that is children, I don't think should play with Ouija boards. Now, would I play with a Ouija board? Well, I did as a child, and I was probably very lucky. But would I play with one now? Absolutely. I wouldn't be scared to do that anyway. I don't do it, but I have a couple of them. But when you're experienced and you have that kind of an education, this is not a divination I would recommend even adults to start with, though, to be honest with you. But I've seen very negative results that from other people that my partner Kathy and I had to clear. We've had to clear homes and things because of that. Even in an app, someone actually used an app, a kid, and the results were not good. So in any case, so we will certainly talk about Ouija boards, but again, that's not a necessary one for everybody to mess around with. Okay. So let's see. Acknowledging gratitude. Yeah, okay. This is very important. Gratitude in the universe. Expressing your gratitude develops your connection with all things and brings more things to be grateful for. So let me say that again, because it's like manifestation, you know. Talk about the law of attraction and vision boards and all these things and positive thoughts, and you have to be careful what you ask for and all that, and I believe in that. But if you acknowledge gratitude to the universe will give you more to be grateful for. It is really a reaction. It's an action and a reaction. And that's what you're communicating. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I say it a lot. You need to say it a lot. And when things do happen, like you get cancer, that doesn't mean that you manifested it necessarily, or that the universe gave that to you because you were grateful. That's a challenge that you agreed to, most likely, before you were born, whether it's genetic or environmental, or, you know, those are just the challenges that we have. That is not necessarily reward or not reward from the universe. I have a lot to be grateful for. Yes, I have cancer, but I have an awful lot to be grateful for. Okay. So once you've heightened your awareness, you need to listen, listen, listen. That little voice will not steer you wrong, but you have to listen to the right voice. You're not listening to the ego, which is a blabber. You're listening to the inner still voice that is more of a feeling, not a thinking. When we say the word think, we interchange those, but it's really not. It's a feeling you have. It's not necessarily a thought process. But those lines get blurred as well. Okay, so let's talk about divinations. I'm going to get into this now. You got some more tips. Happy to do that every time that I talk to you. If it helps, I hope that you're finding something in this. And you do me a favor, let me know in the comments. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, okay? Because that helps me tremendously to get more subscribers. Okay, so divinations. Well, let's start with cards. If I've ever read for you, I may have used cards. There's lots of different cards. My Ayoshi cards, for instance. There are tarot, Ascended Master cards, all the angel cards. Doreen Virtue has made it. She will not own up to at this point because I guess she's a born-again Christian. I don't know what it is, but the cards were very helpful. But a lot of oracle cards are out there, and you have to sort of go with what feels right. I will tell you this, though. Tarot, I don't do it because it's hard. And I could do it if I wanted to devote my time to that, but I'm not attractive enough. I am not attractive enough. But I'm not attracted enough to them to actually pursue it. But people study those for years. Me, I just want to take a card, I want to take the cellophane off and go boop, 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 you know? Well, that's not probably true. I actually like to bond with the cards. I like to meditate with the cards first. I like to program the cards, and that is a communication to let them know the purpose that they're going to be my best friend with. And I mean, there are people that take their cards everywhere. They will take them on bike rides. They will take them in the car. They go everywhere with these cards. They may not pull them out all the time, but they wrap them in their beautiful scarves and what have you. And there's a bond. I know, a bond. It's strange, but it's true. So, so cards, they come in all shapes, sizes, all types. You've got Native American oracle cards. You've got, you know, animated, you know, they're based on like Adventure Time and very odd. I mean, the cards are available pretty much in anything now. But I think that the most popular are still tarot, angel cards, and anything of spiritual topics. All right. So I would like to do another video on cards where I can show you that you could use almost any deck and do the same spreads. It's very simple spreads. And so I'm going to just suggest, if you feel like you're attracted to cards, go shop for a deck. They're really not that expensive. Well, they can be very, very expensive, but I would start with an inexpensive deck. So let me go down the line. That is a divination. It's a tool that helps you give messages. Astrology, that's another tool. Astrology is fascinating, and it can do predictive work, but it can also show you personality traits, just depending on what you're doing with the chart. So astrology, as far as a natal chart, is a snapshot of the sky and the constellations and the planets of the moment you were born and the perspective of where you were born. You know, so you're like, you could be born the same minute as me, but if you're on the other side of the country, your chart's going to be a little different. In any case, I know the basics of astrology. I used to learn it. Well, I did learn it, and I've taken classes on it. It's not something, again, that I was really attracted enough to it to pursue that line. I guess when it all came down to it, I just really wanted to do the predictive work and the mediumship. But I do like tools as well. So astrology is another fascinating thing to consider, but it is a little bit of investment and time, but all the knowledge is out there for all of these. All right. The next one is numerology, the study of numbers and what the meanings are behind those numbers. You can add your birth date and the numbers that correlate to your name together to get like power numbers, and you know, and then what they render down to single digits or double digits and give you meanings of your life path or your relationships with others, with synastry, and of course that you can do with astrology as well. So numerology can be a predictive thing, but I think it's a little bit more general as far as your life path and purpose. Okay, it can do, the predictive work in numerology is a little bit more intense and deep as far as learning. But it's a wonderful topic, and it's amazing how you can take someone's name and birth information and come up with numbers that really fit their personality. It's fascinating. Graphology, handwriting analysis. I don't have much to say on that. I mean, it's pretty cool to see. I don't know anybody that does handwriting analysis so much anymore. It's a little bit of a dying art because there's no handwriting anymore. That's, it's basically, keystrokes. That's it. So that's probably why. Palmistry. Well, people still do that on the boardwalk and everything. And I mean, I look like I would do palms, right? But I don't. Not something that's really interested me, but I think it's really because it has such a stigma of, big palm reading hand in the window, the neon signs. But it's something that is an interesting art if that's something you resonate toward. Tasseomancy. That is the art of reading tea leaves. I find that pretty cool, actually, because you do need to use that aura, intuitive. It comes from that place. Like there's a mechanics to it. You drink the tea, it's got the loose leaves on the bottom, and you sort of flip it upside down. And whatever's stuck at the bottom of the cup is what you actually read. And I have read a lot about it, and I have taken a class on it as well. And that is something I think if I was to move into a new zone with my readings, I think I would like to read tea leaves. I think it's fascinating because it's almost like the little leaves at the bottom of the cup. Did they cluster on one side? Were they all spread out? The patterns that they leave is the actual way that you find your messages. Okay. The I Ching. The I Ching is a book that dates back, I have it down here, around 2852 BC. I didn't even know they wrote books back then. No, Chinese Emperor Fuxi developed a set of trigrams, and the most common method was used to determine hexagrams is to toss 3 coins 3 times, and the traditional method is to toss a set of 50 yarrow sticks. It is a very, very complicated, it's how the hexagrams, everything comes when you throw the sticks and the coins, and again, kind of like the tea leaves, it's how they come up. And then the I Ching book is something that you would look up the interpretation based on what you threw. Okay, very complicated, but also very interesting and very accurate most of the time. Crystals. Crystals are used as a divination. They are also used for energy. That's going to be another video at some point because crystals, I can't do them justice in this. And gemstones as well. They exude energy, but you can also toss crystals out on a table, like even just the little tumbled stones, and where they land is how you would read them. So if you're interested in crystals, you could look up crystal readings. There's a couple of different schools of thought on crystal readings, but it's very interesting, So, flower readings. Flower readings are fascinating. You can give somebody else a flower and let them read it. It's like something you put your energy into, you picked out, you give it to them, and, or you could ask somebody, if you're practicing this, somebody to give you a flower and just get your impressions from them. But you can also question the color they chose. Was it a large flower? How long the stem was? I know that it gets very minute, in the detailing, but that's how you would do a flower reading. Billets. Billets are something, I cannot do, but there are people that have amazed me. In church, our congregation would write down their name and a question. or 3 questions, or 3 names of people in spirit, whatever it is you're instructed to do. Put it in an envelope, and then you put it in a basket. At some point, a medium will get up and stand at the podium. He or she will be blindfolded, and they will go in the basket, and they will pick up a sealed envelope with that information on it, and they will tell you whose name is on there and give a message from spirit with probably one of the names that, or answer one of the questions. So it is an art form, I would say, that started in England, and if they still do them, that's a sight to behold. Maybe YouTube might have some billets and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's cheating, but it's not. I've seen it. That's not something that you might start with. If you're just practicing, I don't know that I would ever get that good to do that, but boy, that would be awesome. Okay, so dowsing with divining rods. When I do a video on dowsing, I will actually show you the rods, but they're usually made of copper and brass, and there's 2 of them, and they are just long little L's. You hold them here, and then they go down here, and they swing on the copper handles, and they can be used to communicate with the other side. They can be used to find things. They still use them, believe it or not. The water companies still use them. The electric companies still use them, looking for pipes, or the don't dig before you call. Yeah, we'll find. I found someone next to us where we lived in Gettysburg, where we lived next to a little bridge, and we found 2 people with their dowsing rods, and I was like, "Are you dowsing? No, go away!" Like. They didn't want to admit it. It is one of the divinations that science will say it works. We don't know why or how it works, but it works. And it doesn't have to be copper and brass, but they say that they're the best conduits to this. When they were first, back in the day, they used yarrow wood, which, it's funny that we talked about yarrow sticks a little bit ago with the I Ching. But it does work, and I have spoken to spirits on the other side. When we did clear houses, Kathy and I would use them quite frequently as a great tool for them to connect to us. So in that way, we're kind of doing mediumship, but we're also using another tool to bridge the gap between the 2 worlds. Okay, so pendulums, they are usually just a chain with a little stone at the end. For the most part, they swing. Back in the day, your mother or grandmother might have used them, used a needle with a thread at the end and kind of rolled it around on the belly of a pregnant woman to say what sex the baby was. And you know what? So if anybody says they did that, then they cannot poo-poo psychic stuff. It's because they're just as woo-woo as everybody else. And so pendulums can be used not only to ask questions and answers, and really the answers are about whether it spins in a circle or whether it goes back and forth and what direction it goes back and forth. And those things are determined before you start the process. But they can also be used on top of a Ouija board or a talking board. It doesn't have to be Ouija, in place of a planchette, and the thing that you push around with the hands. So you could even write down like the whole alphabet on a piece of paper and do this, and you could probably do it with a needle and thread. This is not a very expensive endeavor here, but I would do the white light prayer for that, because it is also kind of like Ouija board. Anything when it's going to be communication with the other side and not just the intuitive getting feelings, it is, again, you want to protect yourself, right? It's very important. So, scrying. Scrying is, the Ouija board. I guess we said enough about the Ouija board. Scrying. The art of scrying is staring, gazing. You can gaze into a crystal ball if you want. You can gaze into fire. Native Americans do that. And other cultures. Lots of other cultures. You can scry into a black mirror. That one's you want to be careful with, because you know that can be a portal to the other side, and you don't want any bad stuff coming through. That kind of has happened to me, but I was using it in an area that was already active and I didn't realize it. Let's see. Sweat lodge. This is kind of a scrying, I think. Water is poured over the hot rocks in a tent or whatever to create steam, and you might stare into that steam. So the steam is inhaled by those who sit and, you know, that are naked around the rocks, you know, to each his own. I don't think I could do a sweat lodge. Oh God, I don't like sweating. So mirror scrying, it doesn't have to be a black mirror. It can be any kind of mirror. Let me just see if I have anything else on my list. No, that's it for, oh yeah, no, we have scrying for clouds, crystal scrying when we did crystal balls. But I find it's an excellent divination actually for meditation, you know, but not always for reading, you know, just sometimes it's just a good technique, but some people see things in that, especially mirrors. A lot of times they might see their own face kind of transform, you know, so transformation is a little scary, and I've done that one, but I don't think I would want to do it as a practice, because every time I do that, I'm like an old lady, like 90 years old. I don't want to see that. I mean, I'd like to see it, but I don't want to see it in the mirror. I'm not going to edit that one out either. So, oh yeah, there's one more. Pyromancy. It's the divination of candle flame. The divinator is concerned with the flames of 3 candles arranged in a triangle. A positive answer to a question asked would be indicated by one flame burning higher than the other 2. A wavering flame would indicate a journey. A spiral flame indicated plots by enemies. An uneven flame indicated danger. Sparks would indicate that you should be cautious, and with a sudden extinction indicating bad luck. So we don't want sparks, and we don't want sparks or sudden extinction. Dream interpretation. Yeah, one of my favorites, actually. I've taught a lot of workshops about dream interpretation. It is definitely my thing, and I've done a lot of study on it. It is a divination, believe it or not. It's a tool, because you can program your dreams, you know. That would be, I could give you that class. That would be fun. Channeling divinations. Okay, so spirit writing with pen and paper. Again, a dying art, I think, because we just do keying. I think you could do it with a keyboard, though. I really do. And that just would be, and it's not like, well, you know, like where your eyes are shut. It's just that you write down what you feel you're hearing with your inner ear. But I think that spirit art is one of the most fascinating, besides billets, for me, to watch artists not just paint your spirit guide or sketch it out, but loved ones on the other side who they had no other way of knowing what they look like. And again, that's another British divination that I wish we had more of that here. Here, my religion of spiritualism is pretty much a dinosaur, but it's becoming that way, I think, in Britain too. In any case, I'm getting off course. I wanted to just present these as ideas for you to explore a little bit more. And there's a few of these that I'm more versed in than others that I could present as different videos. So I hope you have gotten something from this. And if you would, please comment. It helps my algorithms. If you are on YouTube and you're not a subscriber, please click that button, and that would be helping my algorithms too. I appreciate it. I'm all about the algorithms because I'll tell you what, Facebook, I don't know, sometimes if I mention my Patreon account on Facebook, then they just don't like me. They just don't like me anymore, so, and it takes me a while to get their trust. It's just the man, the big machine. So in any case, I'm going to close now. I want you to have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Here it's evening. I've got to go make dinner. It's no time for a nap now. And I will talk to you soon. All right. Be blessed. Feel blessed. Bye.